welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, as you may have noticed, there wasn't an episode last week. Well, it's all because OBS is not that good at streaming. Hopefully it's good at, recording video, because you may not know this depending on what version is out, but I'm recording this both in OBS and in Audacity. That way, if it does what I want it to do and records the visuals, because I want this to be visual, because I want to make up for what happened last time, then just to make it better. But if it doesn't, and this is audio one, OBS is just failing me, boy. So, anyways, you may also notice, if you were the one person in the stream, Ruben Garcia, that these are some of the old stories that were there. Well, I didn't want to get new stories, and as far as I knew, nothing interesting happened this week, really. At least not to my knowledge. So let's say you say, no, actually something interesting did happen this week. Well, tough toenails. So, anyways, as you may notice, I'm gonna begin with a big story that I never got to cover. The Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court nomination. So, I'm, of course, going to be discussing, of course, the big thing, the confirmation. And, unsurprisingly, it was a 50-48 vote on yeah, with Steve Daines abstaining to go to a wedding, and Lisa Murkowski voting present, so that her vote technically wouldn't count, but also would, because she would also be writing down that she would be being no with the congressional record. And as you may notice right here, we already got one of the big problems: Manchin voting yes. Now, it doesn't show, but Suzanne Collins also voted yes. So there were four justices, I think at least four individuals that were had their eyes on: Murkowski, Collins, Manchin, and Heitkamp. But of course, obviously, Collins and Murkowski kind of went with the actual flipping. Collins just stuck with her party, and, well, most of them just tried to stick to their party, stick to their guns. But Manchin, his is the most controversial. Manchin's vote is the most controversial because he's literally the sole Democrat to vote yes. Schumer couldn't even keep his party in place. It's not that hard. Just say, hey. Oh, and the worst part is, even now, people are still defending Manchin. I don't know if, I didn't get one of these tweets, but you can look up and find some of them. People are saying, oh, we need Manchin because he's gonna help us. He's gonna help us keep the majority. No, screw the majority. I don't care about a majority. He's failed. Manchin has failed. He has failed us, boy. Whether or not you agree on the sexual assault allegations or not, there was no way that Kavanaugh should have been confirmed to the Supreme Court. I mean, even if, here's the thing. If it was literally a 50-50 vote, I wouldn't have cared. If it was literally the the 49 Democrats, well, the 40, like the 44, no, 46 Democrats plus the 2 independents plus Murkowski, they all vote no, and then they all vote, and then all the Republicans vote yes. So what? No, I mean, like, all the Republicans except for Murkowski vote yes, and then Pence goes, okay, now Kavanaugh's confirmed because I said so. Yeah, who cares? I mean, I would have been like, man, that stinks, but hey, at least the Democrats actually tried to keep him out of the court. Like, I mean, again, whether or not you agree with the accusations, I mean, personally, Christine Blasey Ford, her accusations seem like legitimate. Deborah Ramirez, her I don't know much about the case because unlike Ford, Ramirez didn't really get the chance to talk about her case too much in depth, but her case seems at least enough to be like, okay, I think that's possible. Julie Senwick, personally, I don't think her case really has that much merit, especially considering Michael Avenatti is the one who brought it up. I mean, come on, like, let's be real. I mean, if she had a different lawyer, I'd probably be a bit more like, okay, maybe, but especially since Avenatti's the lawyer, I'm like, ooh, I don't think so. I mean, and so much so, like, people, like, one advantage is at least people that are like along my political alignment, they were at least seeing Joe Manchin for what he is. Like, even me, I had no idea this was a thing, but there's a guy running against Joe Manchin named Mark Brzaitis. Like, you know, he's got universal health care, legal weed, $15 minimum wage, green economy, foreign policy great, stricter gun control, literally everything Manchin's not. Manchin is literally, when I say, like, oh, there's no difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, Manchin's what I'm talking about. Do you, like, people look at me like, oh, I mean, we gotta keep Manchin in. No, don't keep Manchin in. I want Manchin gone. And people say, like, oh, but what if it gets another Republican seat? Big deal, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. You honestly think that it's gonna change? Manchin votes with Trump like 66% of the time. And yet you think, oh, all of a sudden now the Republicans gonna, like, oh, the Republicans gonna vote with him, you know, 45% of the time. No, like 70% of the time. Ooh, it raised a bit percentiles. Oh boy, now we got someone who's at least intellectually, honestly conservative. Unlike Manchin, who's like, well, actually, I'm like, that's the thing. I'm 100% on board with the hashtag, like, Manchin must go. Manchin must go. I've been saying Manchin must go for a while. Except the only difference is now everybody else is on my side. And the worst part is, here's another thing. I don't really see a lot of people paying attention to this. Like, they pay attention to one aspect of it, but they don't pay attention to another aspect of it. Like, here's the thing. Manchin, in the previous vote, the vote to vote Kavanaugh, like the vote that was gonna say, hey, maybe we'll let Kavanaugh, like, this was the vote where it was like, okay, we're gonna actually try and confirm him this time. Manchin voted yes to confirm Kavanaugh to go to the actual confirmation because he was the last person to vote. Think about it like this. If Murkowski and Collins voted no on Kavanaugh, do you think Manchin would have voted no? I honestly believe that if both of those Republicans flipped, Manchin would have voted no on Kavanaugh. Now, why do I think that? Well, easy. Manchin's a liar. It's not that hard to figure out that, like, he knew that this was the right horse to bet on. Ergo, He bet on the horse. It's not that difficult. And I think everybody will agree with me on that. Manchin voted for Kavanaugh because he knew Kavanaugh would go through. I mean, seems pretty legit to me. So anyways, on to old news. The olds. Jesus Troy Garcia won't run for Chicago mayor. Good. The stash signal didn't work. Jesus Troy Garcia will not run for mayor, he said on Monday, taking the highest profile candidates out of the race to succeed Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Garcia cited the fact that he's already on the November 6th ballot for the U.S. House of Representatives as a key in his decision to not immediately pivot after that election to run for mayor, to which I say yes. I mean, I'll get to that part in a second, but, I'm fully on the agreement side of, Troy probably should not, run for mayor. There's no way I think he should have run for mayor. But anyways, let's go to this story. Ryan says Medicare for All shows Democratic Party has gone, quote, off the rails. This will be fun. The embrace of Medicare for All shows that the Democratic Party has gone off the rails, Speaker Paul Ryan of Wisconsin said Monday. In a speech at the National Press Club, Ryan warned the plan that favored by the left would result in Americans having no choice about the cost or coverage of health insurance. Democrats propose to abolish our healthcare system as we knew it, Ryan said. And it is best represented by how far Democratic parties has gone off the rails. Yeah, they've gone off the rails, of course. 70% of the American people, 70% of the American people must have gone off the rails as well. All the ones who want legal weed, they must have gone off the rails too. Like, it makes no sense. Why would Paul Ryan, I get why Paul Ryan would say this, because everybody seems to be under the illusion of the magical centrists that'll just appear out of nowhere. It's really unbelievable, like, how far these Republicans would go. They literally go like, oh, this thing that is accepted and commonly among the world that everybody understands. Yeah, it's off the rails. It's off the rails, man. So yeah, on the next story. Amazon to raise minimum wage $15 for all workers. Amazon said on Tuesday that it would raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour for its United States employees, a rare acknowledgement that would feeling squeezed by political pressure and a tight labor market. The raises apply for part-time workers and those hired to enough temporary. Okay, so pretty much Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna did the Stop Bezos Act. Ergo, Amazon decided, wait, hold on. Let's actually increase the dollar to minimum wage. So yeah, that's a good thing because it actually means that, all our legislation is going to get worked through. In fact, he's actually going to do the same thing at McDonald's. Like, McDonald's is his next attack. And, well, since Amazon hasn't done this, there's a high chance McDonald's is going to do it as well. So, yeah. Good for Sanders. He's actually going to be, combating the... he's going to be combating the, big business, like the olden days. I was so in awe to see him. Bernie Sanders saved a woman from getting hit by a car while he was out for a walk on D.C., and she's very grateful. Senator Bernie Sanders on Wednesday saved a young woman from getting hit by a car on Washington, D.C. Amy Corrado, 26, said that she was in complete awe to see Sanders shouting at her to get out of the street. Corrado says the senator was very, very kind and even obliged her request for a selfie. Amy Corrado was in deep as thought as she was heading to a guitar lesson on Capitol Hill on Wednesday and wasn't paying attention as she started to cross a busy intersection. She was walking straight into oncoming traffic when Senator Sanders stepped in and saved the day. Senator Sanders was apparently right behind me. He didn't grab me or anything, but he started shouting, "Ma'am, ma'am." As she turned around, Corrado was so shocked to see that the panic screams were emanating from former presidential candidate that she froze like a deer in headlights. I did not immediately get off the street, even though there was a ton of oncoming traffic, because I was in awe to see him, she said. He tried to continue to bring me onto the sidewalk. I was like, "Ma'am, you've got to get off the street. You've got to get off the street. Because democratic socialism is going to save the day." After a few more seconds of being in complete awe, Corrado got back to safety thanks to Sanders. When she was back on the sidewalk, Corrado asked the Vermont senator if she could take a selfie with him, and he obliged. She said Sanders was quite concerned about her standing in the street and was very kind. Aww. Why can't I take pictures with Bernie Sanders? Why can't I take pictures with Bernie Sanders? I mean, come on. Do we really expect him not to do this? I mean, he has saved people from falling in the streets. Like, he saved people from falling in the streets. I mean, not falling on the streets, but like he's, stopped. Like, when people fainted in his rallies, he would, protect them. Be like, "Hey, hold on. We need to save them." So anyways, Cuomo agrees to run on Working Families line. This is not a surprise. Governor Cuomo agreed on Friday to run for re-election on the Working Families line, as well as the Democratic Party line, after the left wing initially jilted him in favor of actress Cynthia Nixon. The governor has accepted the Working Families ballot line, said Cuomo campaign spokeswoman Danny Lever, shortly before the 5 p.m. deadline for making the decision. The governor's priority is a unified Democratic Party focusing on taking back the House and the state Senate. The election is the most important one in our lifetime, given Donald Trump's policies and his imminent takeover of the Supreme Court. Cuomo trounced Nixon in the Democratic primary on September 13th, but she was still the Working Families Party candidate in November. You see, for those of you who don't know, the Working Families Party, due to the fact that New York has a strange, ballot thing, here's how it works. They're like one of the few states that still use fusion voting. So basically, they'll have currently they have 8 ballot qualified parties: Democrats, Republicans, Greens, the Independence Party, the Conservative Party, the Working Families Party, the Women's Equality Party, and the Reform Party. Those are all the ballot qualified parties in New York at the moment. They got this way because in the last election they earned a certain amount of votes. Due to the fact that New York, runs a lot of candidates for their governorship, it's very easy to get a good majority, to get at least, I think it's 3% of the vote. Like, Howard Hawkins usually gets a lot of votes due to the fact that, basically, and then you might think, wow, 8 candidates, that's incredible. I said 8 parties. I didn't say 8 candidates. So basically, here's what happens. You got those 8 in your head, correct? So, the Conservative Party, they choose to endorse the Republicans, obviously. I mean, unless they're, so fed up that they actually try to run a campaign of their own. But they haven't done that in a while. So, usually they just end up endorsing the Republican. Okay, so that's one out. The Women's Equality Party was created by Andrew Cuomo just to get another ballot line, so they just end up endorsing Cuomo. Okay, so that's another out of the way. The Working Families Party usually just endorses the Democratic candidate. Usually they will endorse a Democratic challenger first, but then they will end up endorsing a Democratic, the incumbent after they lose. So they just end up endorsing Democrats. Except in the 14th congressional race, where they endorsed Joe Crowley first, and the Women's Equality Party also endorsed Joe Crowley, so his name will still be on the ballot, even though they're supposed to remove their name from the ballot afterwards to give it to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but they're not going to do that because, you know, screw Mexicans, am I right? Okay, so then we have we have 5 parties left: Democrat, Republican, Green, Independents, and Reform. For the Reform Party, this is the first time they've ever gotten on the ballot. So for this election, they just decided to endorse the Republican. And lastly, the Independents Party of New York. Actually, you know what? I'm going to teach you about them today. Screw the Charter Party. We'll learn about them later. Okay, so the Independence Party of New York, they are a political party that was created with the ideology of populism and the big tent, meaning that they accept political members, regardless of political affiliation. Like, if you lean to the left, they don't care. If you lean to the right, they don't care. Well, I mean, kind of. As you can see, they also have a bit of a... as you can see, they also have a bit of a center to center right ideology. But, you know, it's fine. Like, they can express whatever political views they want. They're a political party like me. Well, not you. Well, you know what I meant. They're allowed to express whatever political parties they want. They have usually just, like, they've been led by a lot of people before, and they really don't have a set ideology per se. They've endorsed pretty much like every single political, if it's been a right or independent affiliation, they've usually endorsed them. Like, I think they've endorsed like it says here, they've endorsed Hillary Clinton for the Senate race when she ran for Senate. They're usually behind the conservative and working families line, and they even align themselves with the Independent Democratic Conference, which was just a bunch of blue dogs who were in the thing, in the New York State Senate. And I think, correct me, I'm just gonna look it up again. I think they have one big member. If I remember correctly, Bill O'Reilly's their biggest member that is affiliated with the party. Yeah. But as you've seen, they usually just endorse whoever's gonna win. So for the New York gubernatorial race this year, they're just endorsing Cuomo. But if it's a Republican incumbent running for re-election, then they'll just endorse them. They don't really have a set ideology. They'll just endorse whoever's going to win. So, at that point, it leaves just 3. Republican, Democrat, and Green. And all the candidates that can't get on the ballot. They have to work to get their ballot access. Like Larry Sharpe, of the Libertarian Party, and Stephanie Miner of the Serve America movement, and Jimmy McMillan of the Rent is Too Damn High Party. Except Jimmy McMillan, he got his ballot access revoked. And Sharp, he's moving on, and so is Miner. I really predict that out of those guys, it's gonna be the usual one that you expect. Cuomo, Republican, I forget his name, Hawkins, Sharp, and Miner. That's just how I expect it to be. And Libertarians, I'm pretty sure by next election they're gonna be ballot qualified for a while. But Miner, I'm not too sure. And now the last and the saddest story, kind of. The busboy who tried to help a wounded Robert F. Kennedy in 1968 dies. So yes, this guy's dead. What's his name? Juan Romero. Juan Romero struggled with, for decades, a memory he could not escape. He left Los Angeles and moved to Wyoming, later back and settled to San Jose to raise a family, devoted himself to construction work. This is the guy who, is there for that famous photo. I mean, I can't even, I can't even imagine what this guy went through. He's just literally ooh, I love this politician so much, I'm gonna shake his hand. How you doing? Bang, bang! Oh, no! But, yeah, this is... Oof. This is, that's the thing. We gotta remember, 60s was a long time ago. People remember the 60s. The 60s is a long time ago. And the history of the world is just dust in the wind. As history goes on, history just dies. Bobby Kennedy died, John F. Kennedy died, Juan Romero died. Pretty soon, everybody who even remember the Kennedy assassination is going to die. Pretty soon, everybody who remembers 9/11 is going to die. And by 2030, when it predicts that global warming is going to kill us all, we're all going to die. So, I got time. Endorsements. Yay. These are all my political endorsements. Because I've been endorsing people. Because I want people to win. But, as we all know, not every endorsement makes it to win. So I'm going to take a moment to reflect on the ones that lost first. And I'm not just doing this because I'm stretching for time. First, the endorsements I made in 2016. I didn't include the one in 2008 because nobody cares. First, I endorsed Bernie Sanders for president, then Jill Stein for president, and Gary Johnson. I endorsed Gary Johnson because I was so mad at the Hillary Clinton campaign that literally anything that was slightly similar to Bernie Sanders was good enough for me. Granted, I still believe Gary Johnson is the most, sane of the Libertarian Party. It's not by much. He doesn't, to be honest, he doesn't have that much competition, if you know what I mean. James Weeks II, Daryl W. Barry, Adam Kokesh. You really, these are his competitions? Alright. Now the 2018 midterms. These are in order of their loss. Because this is the easiest thing I could do. Order by their loss. Dennis Kucinich. One of the earliest endorsements I made. I discovered him just by looking him up. During class, by the way. Sorry. the middle of class, I was looking up Dennis Kucinich stuff where he would be talking about how he wanted to nominate any gay to the Supreme Court, how he wanted to legalize gay marriage, being the Bernie Sanders of the 2008 presidential election and the 2004 election. Especially the whole part where the media was like, oh, this crazy freaking lefty, am I right? Am I right? Yeah. And the fact that he's so freaking proud. Look at him. This grade is his grade by the NRA. An F. He wears that on his shirt with pride. This guy was one of the first endorsements I made in the 2018 midterms. I could not endorse this man. I mean, look at him. This guy's great. He's great. And it's kind of something that I kind of feel like bad about. Not something particularly bad about, but like something I kind of wish. I wish I was a bit more politically active while Kucinich was in office. I mean, to be granted, to be frank, like to be honest, I really wish I knew who he was while he was in office, so I would have been, at least somewhat like, because nowadays I have to be like, well, don't worry, we'll get some progressives like Kucinich in there again, and then I would have liked to have it while he was there. And a couple other people here too. Okay. Richard L. Watkins III. This was the endorsement I made for my congressional race. And he's not in the race anymore. I still legitimately don't know what to do with my congressional race. Do I vote David Price? He's been making a lot of bad vote choices. Like having a military budget be $717 billion. I don't think so, David. You voted good on the Iraq War. You voted in a terrible way on the Patriot Act. I mean, I would have even been happy with Michelle Laws. I looked more in depth into her after the election was over, and I'm like, yeah, I would have preferred her too. But this guy was like the brand new Congress endorsed candidate. On the bright side, he expressed interest in running again in 2020, so might have the chance to vote for him then. But there was one problem. I would have loved to vote for him at least in the primary. But like North Carolina holds their primaries at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the freaking year. I was still 17 at the time. Stinks. Rob Ryers. Notice that R on his name. He was a Republican. Oh boy. He wasn't the kind of Republican that you're thinking of. He was running as the Neo-Bull Moose Republican. Much like another candidate on my endorsement page. He's not really running as that anymore because Rob Ryers is out of the election. And the other one switched his party affiliation to an independent. But, I mean, really, this guy was also brand new Congress endorsed. And, well, I mean, I wish he was still in the general. I was actually hesitant to endorse him because I thought he was running for Arizona's 3rd district, which was Raul Grijalva's district. So I was like, I don't know, but I'm like, wait, this is Arkansas, not Arizona. Endorse Stephen Jaff for California District 12. Oh boy. He was the one running against Nancy Pelosi. I need a moment. My moment's over. But yeah, Stephen Jaff, which he was still in the race. But California and their, jungle primaries ruined everything. Speaking of California and the jungle primaries, for the California Senate race, Allison Hartson, David Hildebrand, or Pat Harris. These are the three that I endorsed before Kevin De Leon. Because, the open primary. I would have preferred one of these three over Kevin De Leon or Dianne Feinstein. But, you take your bets where you can get them. Kevin De Leon's still rather progressive. Like, he's still progressive, but, these guys were just, like, a bit more. Although I will say, David Hildebrand was shafted by Justice Democrats. For the California Lieutenant Gubernatorial race, Gail McLaughlin, because California, they run their Lieutenant Gubernatorial races separate from their gubernatorial races. You see, that's some of the reasons why I don't like endorsing really gubernatorial or lieutenant gubernatorial races too much. Because, unless they're in my state, and when they're not in my state, I don't really care too much. So, yeah. She's super, uber, duper progressive. Endorsed David Hildebrand, actually. Independent, green, and peace and freedom. What's not to love? Amy Valila. Amy Valila. Her racism. I accidentally said her racism because I was saying her race is Amy Valila is not racist. She's not. Nevada district, like, her race, she was running literally to save more children from dying because her daughter died, like, legit. That's legitimately, like, sad. Her daughter freaking died. And she was running so that to get a healthcare policy that could help that. To help stop that. And, well, didn't pan out. The guy literally told her to her face that he heard her sob story, and he didn't have to. He could have been out enjoying his weekend. You don't tell a mother who had her child die, yeah, I heard your sob story. Wah. You don't do that. That's absurd. Why would anybody with a brain cell do that? She even had an advantage because that guy, her incumbent, literally dropped out of the race. Really bummed out she didn't win. For the Kansas Attorney General race, Vermin Supreme, he was removed from the ballot, so his race didn't even happen. Wasn't really endorsing him for any legit reasons. I was endorsing him, it's a joke. But I was thinking that since the Attorney General race was so small, he actually could have a chance to win. Really, really, really awkward following this guy up to Amy Valila. But anyways, Levi Tilleman of Colorado's 6th District. Levi. Like Levi, I remember endorsing him purely out of anger. Because he was like the guy who legitimately exposed Steny Hoyer for lying. This guy exposed Steny Hoyer as a liar. This is like wow. And this guy, of course, didn't win because Steny Hoyer exposed the fact that he was cheated out of the election. Again, not surprised. It's really not surprising. Chelsea Manning. Now, me and Kyle Kulinski have somewhat similar viewpoints on, you know, her race. Like, on one hand, you know, we would have wanted to see her win. On the other hand, you know, she didn't, like the day before her election, like a couple of days before her election, she had a suicide attempt. So on one hand, it's like, you know, go get help. But on the other hand, I would have liked Chelsea Manning to be in the Senate. John Wolf Jr. for Tennessee Senate. He's, you know, I mean, I did 2 interviews with him. He ran for president in 2012. He ran for Congress a million times. You know, I would have loved to see him in the race. I would have loved to see Taylor Swift endorse him. You could have earned that Taylor Swift endorsement, John. You could have. But you didn't. I didn't expect him to get 3rd place in the race, though. I expected him to at least get 2nd. Probably due to more name recognition. But I guess people were so used to having Gary Davis on their ballot that they just knew, oh, this is the guy who we never vote for. Brent Welder for Kansas District 3. This guy, the guy who worked with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders and James Thompson, but was shafted by just not being there. The race, Abdul El Sayed. I was reluctant to endorse him because, again, gubernatorial race. I don't like endorsing too many gubernatorial races. I just don't. They really don't have any jurisdiction over me, so why bother? But then again, I learned about the whole, Kyle Kulinski explained, like, if we have a multi-pronged single-payer healthcare thing, then we probably might win. So it's like, okay, I'll do that. So yeah, and this race kind of even explains that there could possibly be some spoilers with one of the other candidates pretending to be the pro-Bernie Democrat, despite the fact that this other guy was planning to run as a Republican. To which I might say, like, you know, in a primary, the spoiler myth makes a whole lot more sense because they're actually legitimately trying to get the same voters. So, might be some, you know, credence there. Maybe or maybe not. I don't really care. I don't really know. Hawaii's first congressional district race, Kenyella Ng. You know, really good progressive. Was on Jimmy Dore. One of the, I think the first of these, like, major wave progressives to be on Jimmy Dore. So, yeah. Minnesota special election for Senator Nick Leonard of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Like, I like this guy. I think it would have been a good Senate race. I think Keith Ellison could have also been a good senator. Hint, hint. You know, Keith, why didn't you run for Senate? I know you're having a bunch of domestic abuse scandals, but, you know, at this point, a lot of the stuff is unfounded. The woman refuses to show her photos. So anyways, Arizona Senate race, Deidre Abad. We could have had the super progressive Muslim. Instead, we got the atheist who refuses to call herself an atheist, the bisexual who refuses to call herself a bisexual, and the blue dog who refuses to call herself a blue dog. We have that person instead of the uber Muslim progressive. Alan Grayson for Florida's 9th congressional district. I mean, I honestly don't get how he lost. Like, just to be real, I don't get how he lost. He could actually point at his record, whereas Darren Soto couldn't really because it was his first term. But Alan Grayson could be like, hey, I've been your congressman for a long time. In fact, he pointed this out in the debate, like, many people still think I'm the congressman. That's kind of why if I ever ran for House, I probably wouldn't run for Senator. Because it's so volatile. The second the Democratic Party can screw you out of a race, they're going to. If Alan stayed in the congressional district and just never moved up, he would have been fine. But if you screw up 20 times, they're gonna screw with you back, Alan. They did it with Dennis Kucinich. Dennis Kucinich, to get back on him, he refused to vote for Obamacare because they didn't include a public option. But then they were like, hey, vote with us. They discovered his vote's too volatile. Get rid of him. He's too progressive for us. Get rid of him. Delaware Senate race, Carrie Evelyn Harris. The Human Rights Campaign shafted Carrie Evelyn Harris. The one I shared, the Board James episode where he said, fuck you guys, what the hell's your guys' fucking problem? When the Human Rights Campaign said, yeah, we're going to endorse the not gay, the not guy, the one that the Carrie Evelyn Harris, the one who got the Green Party candidate to openly endorse her campaign. I'm not even kidding. Dimitri endorsed her campaign by saying, like, literally, vote for her today and vote for me in the general. Because, you know, come on. Green Party people know that a bunch of Democrats are going to vote for him in the general. Let's be real. I mean, a lot of them are probably going to vote for Tom Carper, but hey, you know, wants people to help him win the election. New Hampshire District 1, Levy Sanders. Like father, like son. In more ways than one. Election taken from them. Like father, like son. In New York gubernatorial race, Cynthia Nixon. Her endorsement was legitimately a pretty volatile one. I always do endorse her and Howie Hawkins. But, you know, if they both would have won and went to the general, it would have been fine. I even kept on holding her on while she was still the Working Families Party candidate, because I was like, come on, I know it's very unlikely, but I mean, come on, you could possibly be the Working Family. You could probably be still in the general. Come on. No? Okay. So anyways, now let's move on to my 2018 presidential election predictions. Now keep in mind, it's only going to involve my predictions. I'm not going to make a prediction for a race I have no clue about. These are the elections that I've been paying attention to, ergo, ones I could be somewhat informed on what could happen in these races. Do you got that? Good. Also, BT Dubs, Jagmeet Singh, Jeremy Corbyn, Andrew Yang, and Ryan Farber are not on these cards I made, but someone else isn't either. But we'll get to him in a second. 2018 election predictions, I have them organized in 4 cards. Gonna win, possible win, toss up, and very likely to lose. Let's go. Gonna win. These are the predictions. These are the ones that I 100% believe are gonna win. You can fight me on this because I think these people are legit gonna win. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Mel Grijalva, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, Tulsi Gabbard, Peter Welch, Barbara Lee, and David Zuckerman. These are all the incumbents. They're just gonna win re-election. No doubt about it. These guys are just the incumbents. They're gonna win. Now, these ones on the bottom, of course, are the newcomers that I believe are going to win. And these are all based on half polls. Like 70% poll numbers. But then, also, a good amount of my gut. Let me explain. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Jesus Garcia, and Ayanna Pressley. These ones, the polls are showing them at least in higher numbers than. And their districts, they've been heavily blue. Crowley's been in her district for a long time. Ellison's been in her district for a long time. Luis Gutierrez has been in his district for a long time. And whoever her person was in the district for a long time. So these are heavily blue districts. I believe she also had an incumbent. She had an incumbent congressman to combat. These districts have been heavily blue for a long time. Ergo, I don't see any potential chance of them flipping now, especially with Rashida Tlaib and Jesus Garcia, because Jesus got the seal of approval from this guy, and the incumbent gave him a seal of approval. So it's pretty much a coronation of King Jesus. And Rashida Tlaib, she has one special thing that is the icing on top of the cake. She's running against a Green and a working class party candidate. So, not to be bleak to third party candidates, but she's got a higher chance because the Republicans didn't make it on the ballot. So, yeah, these are the ones I 100% believe are going to win. If you have any reasons, although Democratic caucus chair for her race might be a bit of a stretch. She might, there's a chance she might not win. I want to bring up the fact that I was reluctant to endorse Choi because he wouldn't tell me his platform. Now that he is, I'm happy he's here. Now the next ones, these are the ones I believe have the potential to win. What I mean by that is the poll numbers show them at the very least close to their person that they're going to beat. Usually sometimes in a higher favorability, or it's close enough that I think that it's a race that you should pay attention to, or otherwise. Let me explain. Beto O'Rourke, Richard Ojeda, Beto O'Rourke, he's always tailing behind Ted Cruz in the polls, but Beto O'Rourke is higher than pretty much any single Democrat that could challenge him at the moment. So there's a higher chance that he could win. And these are the ones that I would say, I believe that these guys could win in my heart. But, if you told me put money on them, I'd say, what are you, crazy? Of course not. Randy Rice here. By the way, I think I should probably mention these ones because you might not know these guys. Gary Johnson, Beto O'Rourke. Gary Johnson for New Mexico Senate race. Beto O'Rourke for Texas Senate race. Kevin De Leon for California Senate race. Kenneth Mejia for California District 34 race. Rodolfo Cortez Barragan for District 40 of California. Wisconsin District 1, Randy Bryce. Georgia gubernatorial race, Stacey Adams. Maryland gubernatorial race, Ben Jealous. Florida gubernatorial race, Andrew Gillum. Georgia District 9. District 8. Sorry. You can go to my website to find out the stuff about them. In West Virginia District 2, Richard II. Jimmy Cooper is his name, by the way. Like Beto O'Rourke, he's trailing behind Ted, but a very close trail behind. His race, the incumbent's not even running, Paul Ryan, so he's got a higher chance immediately. For Stacey Adams, her poll these three, the poll numbers are like up by 1 percentage point. So it's like technically it's in their favor, but not by much. Jimmy Cooper, Kenneth Mejia, and Rodolfo Cortez Bergen, I put them here because they're running against the establishment candidate of their district. But these are the only challengers. Like, he's running in Georgia. There's no Democrat running against the current incumbent Republican. Which you might say, well, maybe shouldn't you put him in the loser section? But I just say because since he's a Green and made it this far to be the only challenger of a Republican, that puts him automatically in a higher ranking than like a Green who's running against like the Democrat and the Republican. These two are running against corporate Democrats, and they've been getting a lot of attention because people are like, hey, are these two Greens going to actually flip a district? Like, there's another one by the name of Laura Wells, but she's running against Barbara Lee, so, there's no way. Richard Ojeda is in the same section as these three. I feel that poll numbers put him at least 1 or 2 percentage points above his Republican challenger. And he's a very popular state senator, so I think that could also put him up, especially considering he's getting a lot of news attention for being like, he's that one Democrat that voted for Donald Trump. Oh no, this is a big, bad, bad boy. And I think he might get some notoriety in that regard. Kevin De Leon, granted, ironically, out of all the people here, I think Kevin De Leon might have the least amount of chance out of all of these guys, maybe slightly more than Jimmy Cooper, but just because of the fact that he's down by like 10 percentage points against Dianne Feinstein, but I feel his campaign has a lot more, attention due to the fact that he has an endorsement from the California Democratic Party, and that could get him some notoriety in that regard. And now the biggest one you probably have been scratching your head about for so much. You probably went to my website just so you could read it yourself, but why is this guy here? These are the progressives. And why you got this guy? Why you got the libertarian here? Well, because Gary Johnson, really two things. One, the obvious libertarian, I agree with them on social policy, foreign policy, but on economics, it's like, oh no. And also, this reason also getting to why I put him in the potential to win, due to the fact that he's a popular governor of New Mexico, he has a very high chance of winning, due to the fact that he's a very popular governor. Being able to, I think what was the thing he was famous for? Decreasing the deficit without raising taxes. I believe that's what he's famous for. Yeah, I think so. And that could give him the potential to have a Jesse Ventura upset if Martin Heinrich does that one big mistake and lets him into the debates. Because here's the thing, this can potentially change just by one thing. He will stay here if he is allowed in the debates. And if he's not allowed in the debates, then, he's not gonna win. But another thing is, he's like, I'm like, why am I endorsing him? Another thing he might be saying is like, wait, but again, why are you endorsing him instead of like Martin Heinrich or staying out of the race? Well, Martin Heinrich, he's got I was checking his like website, and he's got like some good qualities, but the only person who's standing up for him is Angus King, who's a corporate centrist. So, you know, maybe if we had a Bernie Sanders or someone else here endorsing him, maybe he'd have something, but no, he's not really getting that much press. But Gary Johnson, he's so prevalent that Rand Paul pretty much was like, yeah, we should get Gary Johnson in the race, get him in the debates, get him in the Senate. And Gary Johnson's trying to put himself to being like an Anthony Kennedy, like, oh, I'm the swing vote. To which, I mean, sure, why not? As long as we get a bunch of progressive Democrats to be in the Senate, then I'll be fine if he gets to be the swing vote. Let's just say I hope that this guy and this guy are in the Senate if he's also going to be there. Let's be real. You know. Okay, so now we're into the next section. Toss-ups. These are the ones that I don't know much about the race to actually give an informed reason to why I think their race would go one way or another. So, for here we have James Thompson of Kansas's 4th District, Sanjay Patel of Florida's 8th District, Amar Campa-Najjar of California's 50th District, Christine Hillquist of Vermont's gubernatorial race, Scott Wallace of Pennsylvania's 9th District, who's running, none of these are incumbents, by the way. And before you ask, yes, this is related to Henry Wallace. Sarah Smith of Washington's 9th District. Nebraska District 1, we have Jessica McClure. Nebraska District 2, Kara Eastman. Nebraska District 3, Paul Theobald. All 3 Nebraska districts. These are all like, the races are either so close to count. Like, the only reason that these guys are there, and then Abrams, who I said had like was up by like 1 percentage point, and like Gillum, who's up by like 5, is because these guys have been in like up in 5 in multiple polls, whereas these guys is literally like up 5 one poll, down 6 another poll, and or like specifically Kara Eastman. Amar Campa-Najjar, because he's making rounds, but he's going against like the most corporate establishment Democrat. Now I kind of wish I didn't trash the story, because there's a story that I had there where there was ads pinned against him, calling him like a terrorist, calling him like a Mexican spy, all this other stuff. But you know, I mean, it'd be like if I ran for Senate, they'd probably call me a Mexican illegal. They'd probably call me a commie and tell me to slap my salami. They keep using that BoJack Horseman quote. But anyways, these guys, I mean, legitimately, their race could go either way. I want these guys to win, but you know, I just legit feel that their race could go one way or another. And by the way, yes, I found this guy out while I was creating the Progressive Party video. By the way. And you know how I say like father like son for Levi Sanders, like grandfather like grandson. And lastly, we have the very likely gonna loses. Fuck. This is gonna be hard. Okay. So we have Ryan Watts of North Carolina District 6, Robert Corriher of North Carolina District 13, D.D. Adams of North Carolina 5th District, Kyle Horton of North Carolina's 7th District, David Wilson Brown of North Carolina's 10th District, Philip Price of North Carolina's 11th District, Mike Bazard, the guy running against Joe Manchin, Tony Hewitt Jr. for the Alabama gubernatorial race, Chris Wright for the Minnesota gubernatorial race, Darcy Richardson for the Florida gubernatorial race, Howie Hawkins of the New York gubernatorial race, Constance Gadell-Newton of the New York gubernatorial race, not New York, Ohio, Joe Manchin for Ohio's 12th district, Lynn S. Kahn for New York's 21st district, Daniel P. Lutz Jr. for Iowa's 2nd district. I was going to say 3rd. No, wait. West Virginia, District 2. Paul Theobald, not Paul Theobald. Paul Knupp for Iowa's 3rd congressional district. Daniel Clark for Iowa's 2nd congressional district. Tim Canova for Florida's 23rd congressional district. And Mark Whitmire of Tennessee's 2nd congressional district. And Daniel Geary for Utah's Senate race. And Marcia Squire for Michigan Senate race. Madeline Hoffman for New Jersey's Senate race. Joe Crane for... Hey, I've been realizing I've been missing a lot of people. Joe Crane for Missouri's Senate race. Zach Ringelstein for Maine Senate race. Neil Gale for Senate race. Sarah Wellington for Minnesota's Senate race. Paula Overby for Minnesota's other Senate race. Delaware Senate race, Dimitri G. Theodropoulos. I've been missing a lot of people. I skipped the entire Senate. I skipped every single Senate race for that. Like, wow, I legit missed pretty much every single Senate race. Okay, so let me just be frank. Green, independent, Green, Mountain, Independent, Grassroots Legalized Cannabis Party, Reform Party, Green, Independent Democrat, Green, Legal Marijuana Now Party, Green, Justice. Pretty much all of those races are third-party candidates. I'm just gonna be real and realize, maybe they're probably not gonna win. So yeah. Now, some of them you may have noticed are not Greens or Reform or any other third party or independent. Ryan Watts, D.D. Adams, Kyle Horton, David Wilson Brown, and Philip Price, they're all Democrats. But here's one more thing that I forgot that you might have noticed. These 5 are from North Carolina, and these 5 are running in red districts. That's not how gerrymandering works. You guys don't get to be in the top head now. Your districts were made to be red, like my district was made to be blue. Zach Ringelstein, he's running against Angus King. I've already told Zach Ringelstein this. If you want to run again, try again 2020. I think the next main seat is going to be available. And another thing that might make this worse, Mark Bezuster and Daniel Geary, they're running as write-in candidates. Fuck. These guys aren't gonna win jack. Anyways, these guys are just screwed the pooch on this one. So those are my endorsements and how I think almost all of them are gonna fucking lose. Would I want them to win? Absolutely. Why else do you think I endorse them? I endorse based on merit. I endorse based on political affiliation. I don't endorse based on your ability to win. Though that helps, to be quite honest. Now, before I go, I think it should be best to tell you which one of these people I've talked to. You already know how I've talked with John Wolfe Jr. extensively in multiple interviews. But who of these other people have I been in contact with? Well, here are the ones that I have been in contact with. And when I say been in contact with, I meant, and I'll even go in depth on what I've been in contact with them with. These guys... No, wait. Kyle... No, wait. Not all of them. Okay. So let me just start from the beginning. Darcy... Me and him exchanged emails. Me and him, Mark Whitmire, exchanged Twitter DMs. And Daniel P. Lutz Jr., we exchanged... He actually did something that is actually there for my website for a reason. He used my website contact page. Like, legit, for real, though. He didn't have to do that. He could have literally just sent an email. And me and Vermin Supreme, like, we exchanged like one tweet, and Madeline Hoffman also tweeted me on Twitter, but I didn't realize until months later because I don't have push notifications on my phone. So yeah, and a couple of these candidates have even made my endorsement official on their page. See if you can guess which ones. Usually the smaller ones. So, yeah, I guess that wraps this episode up. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more political content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Quora. What are your thoughts on my endorsements or my predictions? Do you think I'm spot on, or do you think all of my predictions are gonna fail? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below.